Chapter 3, The Tag of Terror. The familiar, yet twisted, landscape of Dream Halfway Tree became a macabre stage for a horrifying parody of their earlier game. The Candyman, his movements fluid and predatory, stalked his victims with a chillingly playful air, mimicking the motions of Tag. The female neighbor, her face a mask of silent terror, backed away slowly, her eyes fixated on the Candyman. "Please, no," she mouthed, reaching out a trembling hand towards the radiant light emanating from the unseen instructor, a beacon of false hope in the encroaching darkness. "Let us leave this place." But the instructor's voice, though seemingly benevolent in its brightness, remained chillingly indifferent. "The game must be played to its conclusion," it echoed, the words laced with a cruel amusement. The Candyman lunged, his movements swift and deceptively light, like a player in their earlier game. Instead of a soft cushion, his rusty hook swiped out, tearing a jagged gash across the female neighbor's leg. She gasped, a silent scream contorting her face as crimson dream blood welled from the wound, staining the vibrant, dream pavement. He then tagged her chest with the bloody hook, the force of the blow sending her dream body sprawling. A gaping, crimson wound bloomed on her chest, her eyes wide and vacant as life bled out of her dream form, leaving her broken body lying amidst the distorted stalls of Dream Halfway Tree. The male neighbor, witnessing the brutal demise, tried to flee, scrambling behind a dream-distorted vendor cart overflowing with phantom, rotting fruit. "Boy, this is madness," he choked out, his gaze darting desperately towards the light. "Instructor, pull us out. This is not a game." The instructor's voice remained serene, untouched by the unfolding horror. "Patience. Embrace the experience." The Candyman stalked the male neighbor, his movements mirroring the playful pursuit from moments before. He feinted left, then lunged right, the rusty hook tearing through the neighbor's arm, dragging him back with sickening force. Then, with a grotesque parody of a gentle tag, the hook plunged deep into his abdomen. A strangled gasp escaped his phantom lips as his intestines, shimmering and unreal, spilled onto the ground. His dream body collapsed, a pool of crimson dream blood spreading beneath him, his lifeless eyes staring up at the uncaring light. Tagged, the Candyman seemed to hiss, the air thick with the phantom scent of iron and death. The younger acquaintance, tears streaming down his dream face, hid behind the twisted base of the dream clock tower, his small form trembling uncontrollably. "Please, mech we go," he whimpered, his gaze fixed on the distant light, a desperate plea for salvation. "Please, mech it stop." The instructor's light remained unwavering, offering no solace. The rules must be followed. The Candyman approached the child with a slow, deliberate gait, the buzzing of bees a terrifying lullaby. He lowered himself, his decaying face inches from the boy's. Then, with a horrifyingly gentle motion, he tagged the boy's throat with the tip of his rusty hook. A thin line of crimson bloomed, quickly widening into a gushing torrent. The child's small dream body slumped to the ground, his limbs twitching before falling still, a pool of blood forming beneath his lifeless form. The Candyman seemed to whisper, the silence that followed heavier than any scream, the small, broken body a testament to the brutal end of the game. Throughout this gruesome mockery of their earlier pastime, God's Voice 99 fought his own battle, the white light emanating from the obsidian a desperate shield against the encroaching horror. Yet, the Candyman's influence bled through, the flickers of his terrifying form becoming more persistent, the phantom stench of blood more potent, the sight of his victims' mangled bodies a constant assault on his senses. The instructor remained bathed in an unyielding light, his pronouncements of adherence to the game, a chilling testament to his malevolent intent. The painted playground of Halfway Tree had become a blood-soaked arena, where the innocent game of tag had been twisted into a brutal dance of death, leaving behind a horrifying tableau of carnage, orchestrated by a hidden hand and executed by a vengeful nightmare. A young woman, barely out of her teens, her face a canvas of pure terror, stumbled backward, her eyes darting frantically around the distorted dreamscape of Halfway Tree. A sob caught in her throat as she whispered a name, a lover, a friend, someone now lost in this nightmare. She scrambled behind a dream version of a local bakery, the phantom scent of sweet bread now tinged with the metallic tang of fear. Please, no. Not like the others, her silent plea echoed in the oppressive air. The Candyman, however, seemed to sense her desperation. His decaying smile widened, and he moved with a chillingly deliberate pace, his rusty hook dragging lightly across the dream pavement, a sound that amplified her terror. He peered around the corner of the bakery, his black eyes locking onto hers. A silent scream tore through her as he reached for her, his touch like the cold grip of death itself. There was no struggle, no escape. With a sickeningly swift motion, he grasped her arm and, with a brutal, tearing force, ripped it from her body. Her silent scream reached its crescendo in the moment of unimaginable pain before her dream form collapsed, a pool of crimson dream blood spreading beneath her severed limb. Next, a young man, his face etched with a desperate resolve, tried to defend himself. He grabbed a distorted piece of metal from a dream construction site, his hands trembling but his eyes filled with a fierce, if futile, determination. "Stay back, you monster!" His silent shout resonated in the dream. The Candyman chuckled, a dry, rasping sound like the buzzing of trapped insects. He advanced slowly, his movements mocking the young man's desperate stance. The young man swung the metal bar, a wild, panicked arc that passed harmlessly through the Candyman's ethereal form. Then, with a casual ease that amplified the horror, the Candyman reached out and grasped the young man's head. A sickening crack echoed through the dream as he twisted, tearing the head clean off the young man's shoulders. The severed head tumbled onto the dream ground, its eyes wide with the shock of sudden death, while the headless body crumpled, a fountain of dark dream blood erupting from the torn neck. A young couple, their faces mirroring each other's terror, clung together near a dream version of the clock tower, their silent embrace a desperate attempt to find solace in the face of unimaginable horror. Tears streamed down their faces as they watched the Candyman approach, his presence radiating an aura of inescapable doom. "We're together," the young man's silent vow seemed to say as he shielded the young woman with his body. The Candyman stopped before them, his decaying gaze lingering on their intertwined hands. With a horrifyingly gentle motion, he reached out, his rusty hook tracing a line down the young man's chest. Then, with a sudden, brutal tear, he ripped the young man's torso open, spilling his dream organs onto the ground. The young woman's silent scream was a raw, primal sound of utter despair as she cradled his lifeless form. The Candyman then turned his attention to her, his black eyes filled with an ancient, malevolent hunger. He reached for her, and her terror reached a fever pitch as the darkness claimed her as well, leaving two broken bodies amidst the twisted dreamscape. With each brutal act, the dream halfway tree became a more profound testament to the Candyman's terrifying power and the utter helplessness of his victims. Their fleeting moments of courage, their desperate attempts to hide or defend themselves, only served to highlight the inevitability of their gruesome fates. The instructor's silent presence in the light remained a chillingly indifferent observer to this unfolding nightmare. End of chapter. Subscribe for more. And don't forget to like and share.